car racing has to be the staggered tyres. This is a left rear tyre, the right rear obviously a lot larger. Now the bottom line is they run a solid rear axle, and when you run staggered tyres it gives you the ability to turn left, in this case always left, without having to drag the tyres around the corner. Tyre pressures, well, from about 4 pound on the left right through to maybe 15, just depends on track temperatures. They in fact run bleed-off valves with the rims so as that the tyres will, as they come up with temperature, maintain the same pressure. Absolutely critical as track conditions change. Remember, sometimes the races will run 30, 35 or more laps and with a couple of stoppages. So it's absolutely crucial that the tyres in fact are able to maintain the same pressures. And again, when it comes to tyres and the technology that's used in sprint car racing, absolutely at the forefront. A lot of design goes into the block pattern, and on the night many teams will bring out the tyre grooving iron and change the pattern of the blocks to suit the way the track is changing. So as far as the mechanics are concerned, you can't just bolt them on and send the car out.
Hello and
aluminium, it just has to be speedway racing. In fact, your average sprint car absolutely bristles with aluminium components. Let's take a look around the car and just have a look at some of the areas where they're trying to keep the weight out. The large front wing is aluminium, as is its supports. And in fact, when you start looking at suspension, you'll see aluminium bolts, titanium bolts. And to the engine, there's some real weight gains to be had. Full aluminium radiator. And I'm certain that if there was lightweight water around, that's what would be in it. To the fuel injection, it's magnesium and carbon fibre. Very important when you're looking so high up in the car. Well, Bill Roberts and his mill have been very busy on the engine itself. And when you look into the engine, you can see that the CNC mill has been paring those precious kilos out of the big aluminium blocks. Plenty of weight gains. This has to be the lightest sprint car in the game. How light is too light? Well, for sprint car racing, it can never be too light. In fact, the cars come in around 1,100 pounds, given that they're on the minimum weight. Now, the way they achieve the minimum weight is through extensive use of aluminium, titanium and duralium. This, in fact, is the entire left front corner of a sprint car. It includes an aluminium disc, pickup points, and of course the hub centre. All aluminium, extremely strong, very light, and of course that adds up to speed. In fact, when you start to look very closely at a sprint car, it is absolutely amazing that the lengths the teams will go to just to get weight out of the cars. Look at this, an aluminium steering wheel. By the way, the Grizzly that you see on the wheel is what the team have named themselves. They are very aggressive when it comes to chasing weight. Carbon fibre components all over the car. When you go to the gauges, you'll discover that they've been drained of the fluid that dampens the needles. When you look at the back of the gauges, you can see that there are no mounts. They're in fact just glued in place. Everywhere you look, the CNC mill has been very, very busy on this sprint car. There are drill holes all over the place, and the lightest components possible are sought, even down to the Zeus fasteners. Coming up on the other side of the break. Invariably, it's about the wings. They are absolutely huge, dwarfing the cars. Around 25 square foot of area allows enough downforce to be produced to allow them to run upside down at speeds higher than about 130 kilometres an hour. They're a deformable structure, and when you see a sprint car roll over, it's easy to understand that their value is both safety as well as performance out on the track.
back at Eastern Creek Race.
Enormous amount of effort and time has to be the setup of sprint cars. In fact, wing settings can be changed from a slow track where you're using a lot of angle of attack to a much faster circuit where you would start to take some wing out. The same applies to the front wings, and of course you've got shock absorbers, spring changes, tyre compounds and a multitude of other items that all have to be squared without a great deal of practice time. So the teams that are experienced and know their setups from tracks they've already run at have the edge. Now to a slightly different form of motorsport. And development is done in sprint car racing has been the rear end. In fact, they run quick change differentials. What that means simply is that the gears are positioned in the rear of the housing. and this allows a very quick change given that track conditions change, or you might be at a new circuit and you're searching for the right gear ratios. The cars do not run gearboxes, they are direct drive, and in fact a small lever allows it to be disengaged so as you can push the car around the pits. The rear axle is absolutely gigantic. In fact, all aluminium, and as you can see, it is one piece, so it is a constant drive all the time through the drivetrain. Now these are magnesium cases. This is a Winter's rear end, and again, sprint car racing really does have that little extra when it comes to these kind of components. These are what make sprint cars just so fast.